Hello everybody and welcome back to the Ultimate Fashion History for an episode in our series, Speaking of Fashion. In this episode we are going to be looking at the new look. This episode was inspired by one of my students this semester. Now obviously I teach fashion history, right? But I also teach some other courses that aren't as directly connected to fashion history. Art history, for example, the history of pop culture. This semester, I received an email from a student in one of those other classes, and this is what he wrote. Hi, Prof. H. I haven't taken any of your fashion history courses yet, but I know you can answer this question. What's the deal with the new look? What is it exactly? Why does everyone make such a big deal about it? Was it really a thing? I'm not getting it. Well, I'm here to help. And yes, it really was a thing. Let's go. This is everything I think is important about the new look. The new look was the name given to Christian Dior's first collection for his own fashion house. It was debuted at 10:30 a.m. on February the 12th, 1947 at Dior's Salon on Avenue Montaigne. The collection was actually officially titled Ligne Corolle. Corolle is the French for the circle of petals on a flower, and Dior said of this collection, I created the flower women with gentle shoulders and generous bosoms, with tiny waists like stems and skirts belling out like petals. And indeed, if you look at this beautiful Dior dress, flip it upside down and put a stem on it, it really does look like a flower, does it not? So why was it known as the new look? The phrase came from an overheard remark made by Carmel Snow, editor-in-chief of Harper's Bazaar, who was at the collection. At the end of the show, beside herself with excitement, she ran up to the designer and said, It's quite a revolution, dear Christian. Your dresses have such a new look. A correspondent from Reuters overheard her saying this, scribbled it on a note that he then threw from the balcony to a courier to send for circulation, and the phrase the new look was born. However, new look became a catch-all description for any dress or separates inspired by Dior's classic and iconic Corolle silhouette. This silhouette of tiny shoulders, high-pointed breasts, cinched waist, big hips, and very full skirt, a return to the hourglass silhouette. So why was this such a fashion revolution? For so many reasons. Firstly, Christian Dior, with his very first collection for his own fashion house, changed the fashion silhouette from this to this. Dior actually created two silhouettes in 1947, both which fall under the heading of the new look, and you can see them both here. Tiny waists, big hips, little shoulders, but one silhouette had a very narrow fitted skirt and the other had a full and voluptuous skirt, and that's really the silhouette I'm going to be talking about in this episode. Because the fashion silhouette changed, the body ideal was forced to change, going from this to this. You can really see the difference there, from that strong 1940s body to that small, curvy hourglass of the 50s and early 60s. So why was this such a big deal? Because fashion is not an island, it's a response. And thank you, Liz, for making this quote box. So what was Dior responding to with the new look? He was responding to the way that women wanted to feel after World War II. Fashion had no choice but to respond to the war. Rationing meant less fabric, a slimmer silhouette, and shorter hemlines. And although utility wear, as it was known, could be very, very stylish, as you can see here, it wasn't particularly feminine, but that was okay. World War II was terrifying, and women wanted to feel strong, and this explains the craze for those big padded shoulders and that taut natural waistline that you see during the 1940s. And as we all know, women also needed to feel strong because they were stepping into traditionally male roles. With the men away on the war front, women had to become the head of their households. They worked in the factories, they worked on the farms, and many went into the armed forces. And sure, workwear and uniforms were practical and empowering, but not at all feminine. The war ended in 1945, and women, who had shouldered so much, no wonder they needed those big padded shoulders, were eager to return to more traditional and feminine roles and put the war behind them. And Dior understood this instinctively. And in 1947, he launched the new look, and there it is, the new look debuting 1947 at his SALON, and the world went wild. And the world went wild because this new silhouette seemed to spring from nowhere. It hadn't evolved from the previous fashion seasons at all. Let's take a look at this. This is the bar suit, Le Bar. Dior had names for all of his outfits and dresses, Le Bar, the Junon. And let's compare the bar suit with another suit, this one from the 1940s. Already we can see the difference, but let's just break it down. Broad shoulders, narrow shoulders, natural waist, cinched waist, knee-length hemline, mid-calf hemline, rationed fabric, lots of fabric. In short, a strong and powerful silhouette compared to a dainty and feminine silhouette. It was totally new. Or was it? For inspiration, Dior looked back at the heightened femininity of the 18th and 19th centuries and its inherent romanticism. For example, take this dress from the 18th century with those big pannier hips. And then let's look at Le Bar and look at those hips. They're rather like an 18th century pannier in spirit, aren't they? No wonder the costume designer in Outlander paid such clever and cheeky homage to Le Bar with this wonderful design here. And let's take this dress from the mid-19th century. All we have to do is shorten it, give her a handbag, and you can really see the inspiration for the new look. This looks like the new look. Take a look at this Dior evening gown, and then look at this evening gown from the 1850s. Yes, the new look was inspired by some very old looks. And this is a Dior evening gown. Isn't it gorgeous? And you can see that he was inspired by the soft and hard bustles of the 1870s and 1880s. So how was the new look silhouette achieved, this hourglass silhouette? Well, by way of stiff, structured textiles and or padding sewn directly into the garment, and or corsetry, which brings to mind my favorite student spelling mistake of all time. Take a look at what a young lady wrote in a paper for me. I love it. For the new look, a woman had to wear a corset so tight that it actually eliminated her natural waist. Look at the spelling of waist. Yeah, that corset would have to be really tight. Dior was both credited and blamed for putting women back in corsets, although, in fairness, most women in the New Look era didn't actually wear corsets. They wore the far more comfortable girdle. And the fullness in the skirt was, of course, achieved by way of petticoats. Women had many. In fact, sometimes they would have to buy a separate cupboard or closet just to keep their petticoats because they were so voluminous. Many celebrities wore Dior's new look, and of course this helped communicate these new fashion ideas to the world at large. People like Grace Kelly, Princess Margaret, and my favorite, Eva Peron, Evita, who was personally dressed by Dior on her famous rainbow tour to Europe. Evidently, with the fall of the Peronist regime, warehouse upon warehouse was discovered full of Eva's Dior gowns. Boy, I'd love to get my hands on some of those. As soon as the new look debuted, it became big news, and other couturiers quickly debuted their own versions of this new silhouette. Here's Balenciaga's, here's Givenchy's, here's Jacques Fat, all working with Dior's ideas, but very soon everybody was ripping off the new look at every level of retail. Take a look at these girls here, all wearing the new look silhouette. Here is the new look in a Sears catalogue. Here it is in an American department store window. You can't go on Google and type in snapshot woman 1950s without seeing everyone wearing a version of the new look. Honestly, by the start of the 50s, the new look silhouette was a dominant part of every woman's wardrobe. These girls here are all in a version of the new look. Teenagers in their novelty skirts, new look. You could graduate in the new look, get married in the new look. There were even versions of the new look for kids. With the new look, Dior launched a fashion trend that would actually last for about 15 years. This image here is from a sewing pattern from 1947, and this is a sewing pattern from 1962. It's the same silhouette. The new look really lasted. But not everyone loved the new look when it first debuted. Many women missed the comfort and empowerment of the wartime silhouette. And although photographs like this were probably staged, there was in certain quarters a genuine protest against the new look. This is kind of fun. The Little Below the Knee Club was formed in Dallas in 1947 and soon grew to almost 15,000 members nationwide. This was a group that was formed in opposition to Dior's new look. Members believed that the longer hemline was old-fashioned and might stop them from attracting men. Look at her placard here. Mr. Dior, we abhor dresses to the floor. And many felt that the padding and the corsets insulted their natural curves. But more seriously, some women believed that this heightened femininity and lack of comfort was forcing women back into their pre-war roles. But I'm sure you can guess who hated the new look most of all. Of course, Coco Chanel, who really wanted to throttle Christian Dior, and famously said of his collection, "Clothes by a man who doesn't know women, never had one, and dreams of being one." Charming. But of course, Coco Chanel was all about comfort, workable clothes that a working woman could wear. So instead of just whining about the new look, she responded to it with the Chanel cardigan suit and cardigan jacket, and this too became a staple of every woman's wardrobe. The two looks, the two silhouettes, the two fashion ideas would coexist. Everyone had a version of the new look, everyone had a version of the Chanel cardigan suit. Well, as you're probably beginning to tell, you didn't have to be a reader of Vogue or a fashionista to be aware of the new look. This was genuine water cooler conversation, and I really think it was the first time in all of history where, I don't know, a gas station attendant in Kentucky would have been aware of the name of a Paris couturier. It was remarkable, and the only other examples I can think of when a moment in fashion became global conversation was with the advent of the miniskirt in the 1960s and the birth of punk rock. In conclusion, the new look was a big deal because it reinstated Paris as the center of international couture after the occupation. It genuinely changed the way that women dressed for the following 15 years. It was so talked about that it brought a knowledge and a concept of fashion to people outside of fashion. And so in a way, Dior's new look was not only a thing unto itself, it helped make fashion a thing to a world beyond fashion. If you want to learn more about 1950s fashion in slightly more depth, of course, there is an Ultimate Fashion History video on it. You can contact me through my website, amandahallay.com. Join our Facebook group. We always have a great time over there. Check out our books on Dean Street Press. I'll be back very soon with more episodes on the UFH. So just click that little circle to subscribe. And as always, thanks for watching. Bye for now.